per object basis, you can actually apply the MDD and rotate and scale and add on additive on top of that. And then you could bake that. And then you could apply more, you can keep doing it. So that's a really powerful tool that a lot of people don't realize. Implementing natively the Autodesk Geometry Cache, in my mind, has single-handedly just made it the easiest thing to go back and forth between Maya and LightWave. Before, even if you had something like Point Oven, you had to have the license key for Point Oven for Maya, you had to have the license key for LightWave, you had to and if you're a freelancer, so you're going into a company and you don't own that computer, and so you got to get your license key every time you change a computer and everything. It was like a nightmare. You had to hire me or John or somebody to come and figure it out. Nobody could do it. Now, you go into Maya and you have a character that you apply the geocache to, or anything you apply geocache to. You save the geometry cache file and you export it OBJ and you load it right into LightWave. You load it in automatically, just applies. In LightWave, you can either, if you have a character, multiple objects, which is another thing that it now supports. You used to have to do MDD baking by one item at a time. One item. Now you can go in there in your scene editor and select multiple things that you want to bake at once. It will bake all of those things at one time. It will save them all to the same folder. It will name their baked files what the object file name is, so that you know what it is. And it will also, if you check the box, output them as OBJs at the same time. So, it's like I'm trying to make it so easy so that you don't have to do all these things and you have options to quickly get this stuff in and out. The other thing that's interesting is you can choose to if you have a multiple pipeline where some people are working in LightWave, some people are working in Maya, you can output both MDD and Geometry Cache at the same time. So if you want to check both of those, you can output the cache, the same cache, to those two formats and send them down the pipeline. Yeah, it's like really cool. I've been thinking about this workflow, and when people realize what is here, you can get any rigid body dynamics in LightWave, any soft body dynamics, any character animations, anything, spaceships flying through, all that, sent out now, back and forth, easier than ever before. And before, even when you had Point Oven and all that stuff, you had to think about the scale. The scale between LightWave was always like this 100 multiplier, the back and forth, you never could remember which one it was, and it was a nightmare. Now, it just comes in the right size, the right scale. So we've thought about that in a way that we have implemented this. So I love this stuff because it allows you to get all the cool things that we have known been in LightWave forever out into everything else. Yes?
Rob, the output of FBX from the MDD listing, is that still through the Valkyrie plugin?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Valkyrie is our internal name for our interchange suite. It is part of our core technology. It is core. Our interchange system now in LightWave 10 is core. So everybody's like, where's core? Well, core has allowed us to do all of these things that we're doing in LightWave 10. Many of them are from absolutely core technology. So the interchange that you have in LightWave 10 is exactly the same interchange you have in the core application that we're developing. That's really cool for us for several reasons. But consistency like that is really powerful. If you think about it, if we're implementing the core way of developing these types of interfaces and these types of interactive things, we've got some really great ideas, and our development meetings, over the last month have been about a lot of that. And we're excited about continuing that concept of having core technology not only benefit the current users in the application, but also implementing a really cool way to do things in core that is similar or the same. So it's the same technology, essentially. So basically, this is kind of like a combination of things because you have the MDD, which is really cool, the Autodesk Geometry Cache, the FBX, which has been greatly worked on. Before, to load in a scene like I loaded and showed you in here in FBX, forget it. Couldn't happen. It just didn't happen. And Collada support has also been worked on. We're going to continue to work on Collada because it is our basis for the core scene file format. It's the same as the thing you've always loved about LightWave scene files is they're in the text page. You can go and edit them. If there's a problem, you can get right at them and understand what they are. Collada is the same, but it's even more powerful. So it's going to be an interesting evolution as we move forward. But the thing that is important to remember about FBX is a lot of people think that FBX, when you implement FBX, I follow the threads in the forums every day multiple times. I just don't reply to them all because when you get into it, it's like if I'm in the conversation for 3 days, I'm not getting my work done with development. I can't do it. I wish I could jump in more because I read them all the time. But the thing is, with FBX, people think you have a tendency to go, well, you've implemented FBX, and I just went and tried to load this, content file from 3D Studio Max with my scene in there, and it doesn't load right. Well, go try to do that in Maya, and let's see what happens. Because the thing is, FBX has a standard. FBX has a rigging standard that you have to adhere to for full body IK. You have to name your joints properly. You have to follow what the standard for FBX is. Do you think that everybody in the past that created any character rig in 3D Studio Max followed that, or even knew what that was? No. So when you go and just run and try to grab any kind of file and think, oh, well, FBX is going to save the day, it's going to be able to translate anything, no. What FBX allows you to do is to have a proper format. If you understand it, and if you adhere to that, you can rig a character in LightWave and export it to Maya or 3D Max or Motion Builder in 15 minutes, in 20 minutes, max. I mean, it is. When I took this job on the Disney project, I was working on Race of Witch Mountain. They were struggling with this crowd scene for soldiers for like 6 to 8 months with these guys that were brilliant, but there was a small team. And they're using Maya at a small house with not all the TV support, not all the proprietary programming support, so they're just trying to use Maya to do this. Well, they have trouble, and then they buy these plugins offline called the Setup Machine for Maya and all that stuff. They get one character and it's great, it works great. They load 2 and then the Maya becomes so slow, it's like really hard. They load 3 and it crashes, and they don't know what to do. And so I'm doing the nebulas, and I say, can you just export the OBJ of the soldier to me? And not only did I take it into LightWave and retexture it and relight it with the global illumination to make the object look better, but I rigged it with my rig in 15 minutes, exported it to the Motion Builder, applied all the motion capture to the file, and exported an NDT file to Maya and had the crowd scene working before lunch. So when he came by to review my nebulas, I had the crowd scene already populated. And he was like, what's going on here? I was like, well, it's the right tool. I don't know what to say. But I used Maya too there. It was like, we used a lot of stuff there, but LightWave performed a great functionality that they could not get solved on their own without me helping them on that LightWave thing. So here's an example of, when you look at the updated NDT support, I have multiply selected objects like the character and this little long tunic, which is using long effects. And right in the pull-down menu, you saw export to OBJ. You can export to MDD. Geometry Cache has 2 versions, single and multi. Single is like an MDD file. Multi is on each frame, which is a Maya standard. So you can choose either one of those. Maya reads both. And you can check the box for exporting your OBJs as well right there. So while you're exporting it, instead of having to go export OBJs, it will do it all for you. You click OK. It's going to calculate, just like it did in the past, what deformations are happening on your rig. So all the stuff that's deforming that, all the cloth dynamics that are affecting it, whatever is making the vertices and the points move through the scene, it's going to record all of that data. At the same time, if you checked on your OBJ, it's going to save it to wherever your content directory you pointed it to. And it will default to the deformation folder, I think, or there's a folder there, cache folder, I believe is what we call it, and it defaults to that. So it's saved this animation and the OBJs and the geometry cache files to this folder. You basically go back in, you see your OBJ sitting there named the same thing as your cache file that's been exported. You can load your geometry in, and working with sub-Ds, obviously in LightWave, because that's one of the strengths is you can keep it all in sub-D. You don't have to make it out at the highest res. You apply the NDD reader, you find the file, and NDD reader has been completely updated as well, as you'll see. The XML is the file format for the geometry cache. So that's what the file you'll select if you save that. You've got the replay speed is set to 100%. You can tweak that. You can envelope that. So you can do really cool time remapping, like bullet time stuff and all that. It's like nobody's business now. It's so easy to do. You can choose the loop, playback, back and forth, ping pong, all those choices. This is where you choose your world space or your object space, whether you want the object to be baked to play back exactly where it was recorded, or if you want to be able to do things on top of that. So you can see it's got the geometry that we just saved in LightWave, even though it's using a geometry cache file in the Maya format. Because LightWave can load those data. So I could have saved it as an MDD, but in this case I saved it as a geometry cache. You can choose either one. Now, if you go in and let's see, I think my movie's playing back all the way. Let's see. So basically what this is supposed to be showing you is, yeah, there we go. So in Maya, you basically can load the same OBJ, apply the file. They're going to be the same scale and the same animation, right, in Maya as well. So you've got this really easy way, this conduit now to get stuff back and forth. You can render it, either one. You can send deformations. You can do really quick, rigid body calculations for hard effects in LightWave are not always the most extremely technically accurate for every detail, but you can do really cool stuff with it really quickly. And the edit effects feature allows you to go in there if there's one little stray block falling the wrong way or something. You can, let's see if I can go into some of the LightWave content and show you a cool scene for that. This is not part of the presentation, but I want you to see it.
Okay,
So, this kind of stuff. Real quick to do these kinds of things and, get stuff like that going, And, if you want to, you turn on PPR. You can see really cool area lights and stuff on your dynamic simulations. But if you want to send that stuff, over to, if you want to bake that out the way we just did, even though it's a hard body rigid simulation, and send it over to Maya, you can do that. And your supervisor's not, who cares? You got stuff coming through, who cares where it comes from if it's quick and easy? So this is what I was doing on that. In the same movie, there was a scene where the creature was thrown through some windows and smashing glass and stuff. I used LightWave to generate one pane of glass and broke it up into pieces the way you can, and it's just one piece of glass. Then you use rigid bodies to break all that into and shatter it, even though it's just one piece of glass. And I baked that with NDD and sent it to Maya and had it in my Maya scene that looked beautiful, really quick, really fast. And when the client came through and said, oh, that piece of glass is wrong, I just jumped back over to LightWave and used edit effects and moved it out of the way, and I was done. Houdini Mind people were recalculating every time they made a little change, and it changed everything else, and then the client wasn't happy with all the other things that changed. And mine was done. It's like, fine. So I love that. Okay, and let's keep going here. So we've got, that was the MDD workflow, and this is the FBX stuff, the stuff I showed you with the environmental. You could not load complex multi-UV, we're talking, at least hundreds. Some of these scenes are thousands of objects with UVs and texture maps and transparency channels, and all their positional, rotational scale data. You couldn't have loaded that in the FBX before. Now it does a really awesome job. So doing the workflow that we were doing in the virtual art department for like 1010 and those kinds of projects, oh my god, it's so easy because it's just perfect. Quickly set up stuff in LightWave, bake all of your beautiful textures and texture maps into it, and just export the FBX and you're done. It's like before it was like a little bit more complex than that. So you see the alpha clipping that we've added is an important part of this. So for sets and environmental stuff, the FBX has been enhanced to actually be able to use it. The other thing that's important is the FBX support for rigging. This is what I was talking about before. This is my standard rig that I just dropped into our alien character. You scale it to match whatever character you've got. There's no weight maps in him. You can see just by when I turn the bones on, this is how it's deforming with the skeleton. This is included in the LightWave 10 content. I put it on the CD that way, so everybody's got this. Or you got it coming to you in the box ships. So it deforms. You can adjust it per character. It's really simple. But this is all named and set up in conjunction with Motion Builder's naming convention for full body IK, and the same one in Maya. So he's got a full body rig in him already. You just load it into Motion Builder, and you can apply the motion capture files automatically on this and characterize it like in 5 seconds, and you've got motion capture files being injected into this. Now, after you get these files applied, and if you're not familiar with Motion Builder, I got involved in it when we were working at Netter Digital, and it was owned by Chimera. It was called Filmbox, and it's been an application that was used a lot for motion capture for a long time. And it really was the standard, and then Autodesk bought it, and it was like this with LightWave because all those shows had used LightWave and a combination of Filmbox. And then they